Hello everyone and welcome to a new video. This is Wind Waker Unflooded, a 3D modeling fan art project where we are bringing to life the land of Hyrule in the art style of The Legend of Zelda, The Wind Waker. Of course, you know, if you've played The Legend of Zelda, The Wind Waker, you know that all the islands of the Great Sea that you see in the overworld of the game are secretly the mountaintops of Hyrule. But we never get to fully explore Hyrule in the game. All we see is a small portion of it near Hyrule Castle. And it's always teased at us, this idea that there's this great overworld just beneath the waves. So this art project is just all about bringing to life that world in 3D, showing you how do the islands of the Great Sea connect to the mountaintops of Hyrule. What does that world look like that we've always wanted to see? Let's reimagine Hyrule as you've never seen it before. This is Wind Waker Unflooded. Thank you all for tuning in. Welcome all. If you're new to the channel, welcome. I hope you feel welcome. Settle in, get some coffee, make some popcorn. I usually post these pretty early in the morning. I don't know what y'all's routines are with the video. I release early enough, or I release often enough that, I'm curious if y'all have any kind of routines with these videos, how you like to watch them. Comment down below the way that you like to interact with them. If you ever watch them with anyone else, if you ever watch it with someone else in your house, a roommate, family member, feel free to share these videos. I don't know. I'm just curious. I'm curious about how y'all interact with it. I've said before, it's like I'm really glad that I can show off this project, but I think what excites me more about this YouTube channel is just that there is a community here and we can all talk together and share our love for Zelda and for the Wind Waker and for the world. Because I don't know, this is something I kind of want to talk about that I don't think I've really touched on. That this question of what motivates this project. Because I think I've kind of waved that question off a little bit before. Because I do think in some ways it's obvious. If you've played Wind Waker, there's that feeling of you've always wanted to see that world creatively. Just something innately, you want to explore that world. Wind Waker is all about exploration. It has a beautiful art style. But then we don't get to fully explore the idea of its world with its exploration, with its art style. We don't fully get to see that. I think that itch has been scratched in other Zelda games. But I've always wanted to see that art style, that world that I have such a deep connection to with its islands of the Great Sea. And of course, that is a creative motivation. But I think something I've realized, while modeling, is, if that was all that was motivating me, it wouldn't have been enough to finish the project. And I'm trying to figure out about how I want to articulate this, but it's what I've realized is, what the requirements are for Wind Waker Unflooded. There's a couple of requirements that are just innately tied into this project. Some of which I understood before I went in, and I knew it would take time, but here's what I knew. I knew that I had a love for the Wind Waker, and that desire to explore that world could motivate me. I knew that I could rely on that, but the requirements are not just expanding the islands into mountaintops. That's one requirement. There's also this requirement of it is Hyrule. It needs Hyrule's landmarks. That's another requirement. But just those two things are still not enough to fully realize the world. It needs more. And I don't think this is something I really appreciated when I started, but I've definitely realized now that in order to make this project possible, it's not enough that I love Zelda. It's not enough that I have this love for the Wind Waker. It requires a love for this world that we share. Because that's what I have to put in to this world to make this possible. Because I would run out of things if all I'm relying on are the islands of the Great Sea and the general maps of Hyrule and its overall landmarks. This map demands more, and its inspiration is the natural world that it presents. What I have to pull from is life, is this planet Earth, and the beauty of that. And I don't know, that's something that I've kind of begun to really appreciate about this project. It's not just about Zelda. Maybe it's not even really about Zelda. Is as much as we put it in the context of this project is about Hyrule and bringing it to life and this love for the Wind Waker and its aesthetics, and that's on the surface. I think the deeper meaning of the Wind Waker Unflooded, I don't know, not to sound pretentious and not to, I don't know, I don't want to sound pretentious or overinflate the nature of this project, but I do think like the requirements for this project to exist and continue requires a love for the planet Earth and a zest for life and the beauty of the natural world. I'm a religious man, so the beauty of this world that God has created. I don't mind saying that. All right, I don't want to like go into a religious ramble on this channel, but I think it's worth saying that like that motivation of a love for creation is required for this project, in my opinion. And if I didn't have that, I would run out of things that inspired me. And so I don't know, like I bring this up because I think it's worth saying, and I don't think that I've properly said that on the channel. I know we're getting a little deep there, but I think before we go any further, let's not to change the topic suddenly, but I do think it's time for a short message. So I'll talk to all of you again after the break. See you then.
If you want to be able to support me as a creator, there's several ways that you can do that. Become a member on Patreon. It gives you access to exclusive bonus features and early access content in all of my filmmaking projects. Stuff like early access to scripts that I'm writing, storyboards, previs, rough cuts, and music that I compose. I'm a composer, and any music that you've heard in the background of this video was my music. So go to Spotify or Apple Music or wherever you listen to music and type in Joe Kendrick. That's JoeKendrick. Look up Joe Kendrick on Spotify.
And we're back. Yeah, as always, I just have to let you know how you can support me as a creator. I don't make ad revenue from these videos. Wind Waker Unflooded is completely not monetized. I don't make any ad revenue. I don't think that's right. If you see an ad on the video, it's because YouTube might be putting ads on the revenue, ad on the videos. And if it's making revenue, I think that is wrong. But I'm not making any revenue. I'm not making, I'm not putting ads on the videos. So. But there are ways you can support me as a creator that I encourage. Feel free to become a Patreon member. That means so much, and those of you that have already become Patreon members, that really is incredibly meaningful for me, and just to see how much y'all want to support my work, that means so much. And I've been really happy to see y'all there on Patreon. You can also donate through my Ko-fi page, and listen to my music on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you listen to music. I've given you the spiel. You don't need to hear it again, but I just want to reiterate that is meaningful, and that you can find links. I think there's some in the description, definitely on the about page of my YouTube channel as well. So yeah, I mean, I appreciate y'all watching the videos and listening, and I don't want to sound like I'm begging, but I do want to let y'all know that if you want to be able to support me as a creator, there are ways that are deeply appreciated. So I mean, yeah, thank you for listening to the spiel. But before the message, we were getting deep, and I think it's time to move on from that. I think I've said everything I have to say about that. I don't want to ramble. I don't want to repeat myself. I know I repeat myself a lot on this channel. I apologize, but I know there's a lot of new viewers, so there are some things worth reiterating, like the fact that I appreciate y'all's comments. Feel free to comment down below your ideas, criticisms, concerns, feedback, positive and negative, constructive and not so constructive. I appreciate if it's constructive, but I want to know y'all's ideas is the point, and I really encourage y'all to comment. That really helps motivate me to keep working on the project, and that inspires me to see y'all's comments and see what y'all have to say and your ideas, and that directly affects the kind of the videos that I work on, the locations that I work on next, y'all's suggestions. And I want y'all to know that there is a direct correlation between what you suggest and what I work on, so I really appreciate that. And sometimes it takes time for me to get to it, but that informs the way that I create a list of what to work on next. It all comes from you and what inspires you and what I know you want to see. And I've been really appreciative already of how many comments people have already left with their own ideas about locations they want to see from other games, and stuff like what's informed this video, which is, I've got several comments where people are interested in the infrastructure of the world. A couple of different people have commented that they'd be interested in train systems in the world. And, you know, I know I've talked about it before in talking about trains. Like, I know that's something that, you know, trains have never really been in Hyrule properly. You know, they've been in Spirit Tracks, which is not Hyrule. You know, it's not the mainland of Hyrule. It's a different iteration of the kingdom. You know, so, but I also, like, I don't know, like, I think, like, even with that in mind, I think it's very natural for the aesthetics of what Hyrule is and the idea of what Hyrule is before the time of the Wind Waker. I think it still sets up a world perfectly for these kinds of advancements, for a train world. Like, just like, in what I mean by that, and just like, it is a world where there are advancements, that there is technology, that it is a world that is at its highest point before it falls, right? Before Ganondorf returns, right? That of course we see in the prologue to the Wind Waker. You know, this project all takes place within the prologue to the Wind Waker. If anyone's wondering timeline-wise when this is happening, this isn't the world of the Wind Waker if the flood went away. This is the Wind Waker right before the flood happened, most of the time at least. That's informing most of my decisions. Maybe there's some things where I'm keeping some structures that might have been built after the flood, and there's some debate there about some stuff like sea platforms, etc. But most of my decisions creatively are informed by the idea that this world is Wind Waker's Hyrule right before the flood. So I think that is all worth clarifying. But anyway, I think it's about time to wrap up the video. Y'all, thank you all so much for watching. Once again, I gotta shout out some people. Thank you again to Zachary Kane for an animation of Link waving his arms. I've been using that for the ending renders of my channel, and that has been really appreciated. I really love how expressive that is. Also, shout out to Michael Linden, who provided a map that you see within the train station itself. If you see that on the wall, that was art created by Michael Linden, and I think that is a beautiful map. And so shout out to him for creating it. But with that all out of the way, thank you so much for watching. I'll let y'all go.